I really want to take this opportunity as we close out 2020 and go into the new year to really talk to you guys about some themes that I have noticed among my clients, myself, my own personal journey, that have been very eye-opening as far as our health is concerned and how this modern system is not serving us. So I really became disillusioned with our modern medical system during my master's degree program, where I was getting my degree in hospital administration. And it was during this time that I learned that our hospital systems run like just any other business, and they are really motivated by profits and avoiding losses and avoiding liabilities, and it really took the human aspect out of it. And in addition to that, just knowing that so many errors occurred because doctors are overworked, we're understaffed, and that creates a large margin for error, and that's not a scary, that is a scary realization to have. In addition to that, my clients that I have worked with personally have come to me after exhausting a lot of other options, a lot of the more conventional methods that we're more familiar with, like going to our primary care doctor, getting some blood work, maybe seeing a specialist, and they found a dead end around every turn. Actually, one theme I really saw a lot this past year was acid reflux and heartburn. And so your doctor, your conventional doctor, for example, you'll go to them and they will say, here is a proton pump inhibitor, a PPI, which reduces the stomach acid, which should help alleviate that acid reflux. Well, that's what our doctors know. That's their protocol. And we really can't fault them for that. We have to fault the system for that, because the actual problem, when you take a hard look and do that deep dive into the research, the most recent medical research on acid reflux, is that it's actually low stomach acid that's causing it, not too much stomach acid. So PPIs exacerbate the problem and actually increase our risk of stomach ulcers and certain cancers like stomach cancer. And that is just incredibly unfortunate that people feel reliant on these prescriptions when we need to be asking the bigger question, like, why do we have low stomach acid? What's causing it? And this is something I've dove into with my clients, and now all my clients with acid reflux or heartburn no longer rely on PPIs. They don't have to take them every day in order to sleep well, but we have found natural methods to get their stomach acids balanced and to ensure that they don't suffer from those unpleasant symptoms. So that's how I fill the gaps. The doctors, they get very little research on infectious diseases. They get very little education on nutrition. And so they have to rely on prescription medications and these Band-Aid solutions. Our modern medical system is very good at treating acute illnesses. So if you get in a car crash or something like that, have a heart attack, this is where you want to be to get to recover from that injury. But when it comes to chronic medical conditions, which is what is ailing many Americans, millions of Americans today, the conventional medical system does not have it figured out at all. They're not going to tell you to go eat more vegetables, watch out for sugars, things like that, because it's just not in their toolbox of knowledge. And so, to be honest, they get about 10 minutes with you once a year, and that's really not enough time to make lasting habit changes. So my interest really stems from behavioral psychology. So why do we do the things that we do? And this is a lot of my research that I dive into about how we form healthy habits, why we form unhealthy habits, and how to break those. And so I am there to fill those gaps so that you can actually apply these changes. If your doctor says you need to cut back on the fast food, okay, well, what are the systems that are currently in place in your life that are not supporting that, eliminating that habit and creating new ones? So diving deep and looking at the root cause of those choices and those cravings. Another theme I've noticed among almost all of my clients is the complaint of fatigue, just a lack of energy. Even after 8 hours of sleep, sometimes it's just always feeling fatigued, lethargic, unmotivated. And I'm telling you, this is not a personality flaw. This is not a character trait issue. This is an internal imbalance. Your mitochondria, they're not getting the fuel that they need to thrive and energize you. You might be fighting some infections. You might be eating foods that your body is sensitive to, don't agree with you, that create this low-level inflammation, an immune response that steals away the energy that could be diverted to your brain and creative thinking and all these other exciting things. And man, I could go on forever there on that note, but I can tell you that pretty much all my clients, sometimes even days into starting my program, feel way more energized, wake up feeling energized, not having to rely on coffee throughout the day, not feeling that slump after work or after lunch, after meals, and just being able to get more done and do more intentional work that helps you get closer to your goals and really level up in your career. So that has been incredibly exciting, but a very unique insight that pretty much everyone is, again, going against the current now, trying to do all these things. We have this long laundry list of tasks to do every day, and it's like walking through mud when you're not energized, when other things are stealing your energy. So taking a deep dive there and finding out what's stealing away your energy has been really exciting and just completely transformative for all my clients. And this is another example of why, as we go into the new year and as you make your goals, be thinking about this. You know, if your goal is to simply lose weight, again, you're treating a symptom of an underlying imbalance versus having a goal of more compassion and prioritizing self-care. That is going to permeate into everything that you do and touch every area of your life versus the weight loss, which is just triggering a symptom, which is eventually going to come back as soon as you fall back into old habits, unfortunately. But getting to that root cause is totally where it's at. Next common theme is definitely insatiable cravings, just feeling out of control around food, being preoccupied with thoughts about food all the time, what you're gonna eat, when you're gonna eat next. And this is, again, it's not a fault of your own. This is something going on below the surface that needs to be targeted. It could be gut imbalances, so you don't have enough good gut bugs, maybe caused by excessive antibiotic use, which could be caused by recurrent strep infections, which, again, we gotta ask why. Why are you experiencing these infections? Why are they recurring over and over again? Why is your immune system not able to tackle this? And so these are questions that we have to ask, we have to get curious about so we can dive in and get to that root cause. Because just trying to strong arm those cravings and rely on willpower, I've never seen that work effectively every time. And it's this habit loop where we feel bad and we turn to food to feel better for a moment, and then eventually we feel bad again, and that food isn't really getting to the root of our stress, isn't actually creating any real changes, but actually just causing more problems for us. So we have to find healthier coping mechanisms. We have to balance your hormones, get your sleep healthy, because if you're not getting adequate sleep or good quality sleep, that increases ghrelin, your hunger hormone. So again, we're swimming upstream when we're doing this. We're going against the tide when we're focusing on, just a Weight Watchers program, or really trying to avoid the chips when we're not at first addressing these imbalances that are under the surface. Next big theme is really digestion and digestive issues. So after meals, if you feel any kind of discomfort, nausea, if you feel bloated or gassy, you're constipated, or your bowels are irritable, you experience some diarrhea, Again, like I just said, the gut is where all the magic happens. We really need to go in and fix the gut to get your immune system healthy, in order to make neurotransmitters like serotonin, in order to properly absorb nutrients from our food, in order to keep the bad guys out and be able to remove them from our system effectively so we don't trigger an autoimmune response. I mean, this is really where the magic happens. And things like birth control, things like PPIs, stress, antibiotic use, pesticides, herbicides from our products, plastics, all of these things are influencing our gut microbiome and our gut barrier, causing it to wear away, wear down, causing things to get through that aren't supposed to get through. And once we target the gut and get that fixed, stop putting toxins in our body that's kind of withering away at that gut lining, and restore that internal ecosystem, then these symptoms really disappear. You will have normal bowels, which means removing excess estrogen, which means eliminating PMS. So again, these things all have a ripple effect, but we have to get to that root. And for so many people, the root is your gut. And so if you have gut symptoms, your body is communicating something to you. You know, eating, pooping, these things, moving your body, they should just be intuitive. They should just be a part of your day. You shouldn't be exhausting so much mental energy having to think about them, having to think about your next meal. Like, it just happens, and it should be more automatic. And it can be if you understand behavioral psychology and why we do the things we do, how much our environment plays a role in these habits, the cues around us. And that is how we can really begin to help ourselves, by gaining knowledge. We don't need more weight loss pills. We don't need more workout equipment. We need education. I mean, it has been so clear to me this past year, since I've been really on you guys about this whole birth control piece of the puzzle, our female hormones, that we lack knowledge of our bodies and how they work. And without that knowledge, then we're going to be reliant on the modern medical system. But they don't know our body. They don't have the time to dive in to the intricacies of our everyday life. You have 10 minutes with your doctor, maybe. You're not able to go deep on some of the emotional burdens you're holding on to that are creating tension and an immune response in you. And so, trust yourself. And if you don't right now, if you feel like your body is betraying you, I promise your body is doing everything it can to keep you healthy and well. And once you know more, once you know better, you can do better. Knowledge truly is power, and this is where it all begins. So my philosophy really is that the core of recovery and of healing and of health and wellness is self-awareness. It is having that intuition, about what you need, looking inside yourself rather than outside of yourself for the answers, and understanding, what your body is trying to communicate to you, being in a partnership with your body rather than, feeling like your body is betraying you, working with those signs and symptoms to better yourself. And so I want to leave you guys with this point. If we aren't aware of what our body needs, then we can't meet our needs effectively. For example, if we are chronic dieters for decades, then we learn to ignore our hunger signals, right? And as a result, we don't nourish ourselves properly. And that is just one example of how we are so disconnected from our body and our intuition and our just knowing of what we need, because we know exactly what we need, but we just have to stop and listen and close all of those tabs that are open in our brain that are taking away from us, and causing us to not focus on what really matters.